We're going to hear from Chris Brown, Bills insider from BuffaloBills.com. He is out on the sidelines of practice right now. Bills practicing outside the Ad Pro Sports Training Center. Beautiful day in Orchard Park. Chris Brown joins us. Good afternoon, Chris. It's a great day to be outside, right? Beautiful day.
Can't beat September here in Buffalo. That's
You're
for
right.
sure. Sunsplash day out here. Low humidity, so not bad for the players either. You can work on your tan today, man.
Well, I can in here. You can. I can't.
Yeah, well, good luck with that, Brownie. Just don't go shirtless on the. What do you see?
No,
what are your,
don't worry about it.
What are your first? What's the first thing you're looking for today when you go out there?
Well, forget about what I was looking for. The curious thing that we see out here today is Tre'Davious White is in a red non-contact jersey. Not really sure what that's all about. Obviously, we'll know more when the injury report comes out later today, but that's clearly an indication that he is not going to be taking part in any contact drills, which means he could potentially be held out of some teamwork, which will make him a limited practice participant today. We'll have to find out why. And obviously the injury report will provide some information on that because he's going to have to be listed on the report.
The injury report, Tre'Davious White, that would be a loss. The injury report is going to say also that Devin Singletary is not practicing today, Chris. Tell us what you make of that, what the Bills have to do. I don't know. They don't really have to make a move, right? Yeldon's pretty solid depth there at the running back spot.
Yeah, Coach was actually asked that very question at his press conference last hour, and he gave indication that they didn't feel the need to make that kind of a move right now. That could be one of two things. It could be, A, they feel they can get through a game with Frank, TJ Yeldon, and Pat DeMarco serving as the chief ball carriers in the run game, or it means maybe Devin Singletary is closer to returning than any of us realize. We don't know the severity of the hamstring injury. The Bills have been guarded with that, so we're kind of beholden to what the injury report says, and we go off of that. But we know he's not going to participate today, and it looks like it's going to be a day-to-day assessment, not only by the team, but in us trying to get a handle on just what he will and will not be doing through the course of the week.
Frank Gore acquitted himself well, though, Brownie, last week with all of those carries, right? And they almost flipped roles last week, Gore and Singletary. The first week it was Singletary getting the snaps anyway, and last week they sort of reversed roles a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And if Singletary doesn't go this week for whatever reason, I would anticipate we see the role pretty much the same with Yeldon filling more of the third down role. Knowing that he's done that in the past in his days in Jacksonville. And, you know, as we've said time and again, you know, coming off a career-high reception season last year with 55 catches as a third down back for Jacksonville behind Leonard Fournette. So it's not like they don't have answers that they can turn to or people they can turn to for answers. So that's there. I think we're just going to have to wait and see what Singletary can do coming through the week. I thought that the mesh points for the run game last week were a lot cleaner for the run game against the Giants. I think that's a byproduct of having a game under their belt, and I think the O-line and the backs behind them are kind of seeing the opening sooner, and that's why I felt that there was a smoothness to the run game last week that we didn't see on every running play the week prior, so certainly a good sign going forward.
Yeah, one of the things I'm looking forward to is I think this is going to mean TJ Yeldon has to get on the field as a running back. I mean, if you're not practicing on Wednesday and you're not even out there with even close, I think it's obvious Devin Singletary is probably not going to be available on Sunday, or at least they're thinking that. TJ Yeldon is going to take some reps. I think that I don't
know about that. I mean, Chris. Well, go ahead and answer the question. I'm not ruling him out, Singletary. Are you, Chris?
Yeah, I would reserve judgment on that, too.
Yeah.
I mean, we're only at Wednesday. I mean, we've seen guys miss Wednesday and Thursday and get on the field Friday and play in a game. So I think we got to hold our water on that one a little bit and see what tomorrow holds, and then even Friday. You know, Thursday typically is the most important practice. It's the padded practice of the week. It's where it's the most game-like, per se, usually. So, if he's not out here tomorrow doing any of that, even in a limited capacity, then we can turn up the concern meter for sure. Yeldon's a veteran. I think he's acquitted himself well. I thought he bounced back very well from that fumble in the first preseason game. He put it on himself. He owned it and performed well the rest of the preseason in the action that he did get. And I think if he's called upon, he's going to be ready.
I don't think there's any question that they like the depth they've got. They don't have any problem moving Yeldon up into the rotation with Frank Gore if Singletary cannot go, particularly with DeMarco being still there as well. So I don't think they change their offense at all without Devin Singletary, although their play selection may change a little bit. I think obviously TJ Yeldon does things differently than Singletary would, but I think they just kind of expand Gore and what they expect him to bring and just give TJ some plays. I don't think this changes things at all if Devin Singletary's not in the game.
No, I don't think so in terms of offensive philosophy. There may be some different plays that you like or don't or steer away from with Yeldon in the game as opposed to Singletary because they are different body types. I think they're different style players. Yeldon, a big back with good movement skills, but I don't think he's quite as elusive as Devin is. So you may change your play calling sheet a little bit based on that. But, you want to throw some flare passes on third down to get the ball out of Josh's hand because the pass rush is coming. TJ Yeldon can absolutely 100% fit the bill there.
Chris Brown, Bills Insider, BuffaloBills.com, reporting to us from the practice field outside the Ed Pro Sports Training Center. Bills getting set for Cincinnati. Chris, I wish I had a nickel for every time I've said this week. It's only 2 games. But it's only 2 games, and yet last year's 52% completion percentage passer is now a 64% completion percentage passer.
Yep.
Too soon for Josh Allen to start taking bows for that? What do you think?
No, I think it's an encouraging sign. I think we were hoping that we would see him build off of his last start last season in the season finale against Miami. And, say what you will about whether Miami was running for the bus or not, but he was a 65% passer in that game. And everybody's like, well, it was 1 game. Miami really wasn't, going for broke in that game. They were mailing in the season. They knew their season was going nowhere. Okay, fine. But I think the fact that he's been able to duplicate that in these first 2 games in terms of completion percentage on the whole is certainly an encouraging thing. And people might say, he's throwing a lot more shorter passes. He's got Cole Beasley now with these high percentage throws underneath. And I'll tell you, I'll take that a step further. His yards per attempt last year was around 6.5, and right now he's at 7.5. So I think that kind of refutes that argument. If you want to say he's throwing more shorter, high completion throws, the yards per attempt would indicate not.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with throwing shorter, high completion throws.
That's what everybody does.
Yeah, how do you think guys get to 60%?
I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying, there's the devil's advocate out there that may come to the table with that to argue, well, his completion percentage is up because of that, and that's patently untrue.
That's all the people who, made half a career out of saying how inaccurate Josh Allen was and he never worked in the NFL. Those people are kind of quiet right now.
Yeah, he's giving them less and less ground to stand on.
Yeah.
I mean, they're running out of arguments.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, he is. And I'll say this, too. I don't know if this was planned by Coach McDermott, but knowing how detail-oriented he is, the first song out here from the DJs at the start of practice was Public Enemy's Don't Believe the Hype. So I don't know if that's a message for the 2-0 Bills out here or not, but I thought it was an interesting selection in terms of the playlist, shall we say. I should also mention, guys, that 2 other guys not participating out here, John Brown and Ty Nsekhe. It could very well be veteran rest days. Again, we're going to have to wait on the injury report to know whether or not that was the case or is the case here right now.
One other guy I want to talk to you about is Tyler Kroft. He's been injured. He's been on the shelf for the entire offseason. They had surgery on his foot. He's back in, and maybe perhaps by some fortuitous break in destiny, he's coming back or has a chance to come back and fully practice in the same week they're playing his old team. You think that was orchestrated for a month?
Fortuitous break. I got to write this down. Fortuitous
break in his destiny. Yes.
That is fantastic. I got to keep that one. That's a 50-cent sentence there, Steve. Well done. I would say the chances are good that he plays this week. I think they've been supremely cautious in bringing him back in a very almost on an incremental basis here, guys. And I think it's because this is a foot injury that he's had before. He's had to have surgery on it in the spring. He was listed as doubtful in week 1, did not dress. Listed as questionable in week 2, did not dress. There's no more probable on the injury reports anymore. So you're hoping with a full go in practice here today that he feels great tomorrow. And what that could hold is a very promising chance for him to be dressed for Sunday's game against his old team. So, yeah, very fortuitous. Bill's debut against his former club.
All 4 tight ends up on Sunday, would you think? How will they play that?
Yeah, that could be tricky, and that might hinge on some other elements that are happening on the injury list. You know, is Andre Roberts healthy? Can he play? Does he make his Bills debut this Sunday? I think if he's up, that probably means only 3 tight ends are up this week if Kroft is healthy and ready to go.
Well, the interesting thing about it is you see those tight ends run off: Lee Smith, Dawson Knox, Tommy Sweeney, and, of course, Tyler Kroft. They're all the same guy. I mean, they're all 6'5" guys. The only guy that doesn't fit is Lee Smith, who is a kind of an offensive lineman. But Sweeney and Knox are really cut out of the same carbon copy as Tyler Kroft. They're all kind of these tall, lanky dudes who really, I think, in the core are kind of wide receiver type tight ends. Now they are getting pretty good edge blocking from all of them. But Lee Smith has set himself apart as a blocking tight end. But man, oh man, Tyler Kroft, you talk about if you're looking at the Buffalo Bills, you got to get a pretty good idea of what they want in a tight end. Look at the 3 top guys they've got.
Yeah, and the interesting thing there is and we're getting a little down the rabbit hole here, but let's assume for now that Tyler Kroft is active on Sunday and does dress and does play. I'm going to be interested to see what they feel comfortable with him doing in terms of assignments and demand on that foot in his first game action. Are they simply just going to have him detached all day and running routes in the passing game? Or are they going to have him stand in there and grind and block a little bit in the run game with Lee Smith if they go 12 personnel, for example? I'm just curious to see how much demand and torque they want to put on that foot. Not to say it's not going to be under stress and torque when you're running routes and, breaking down and getting in and out of breaks. There's torque there too, for sure. I'm just curious what the workload's going to be like for him. I don't think it's going to be solely predicated on the game plan. I think it might also be predicated on what, the medical staff and everybody feels comfortable with him doing in the scope of the offense.
I'm with you, Brownie. I think it's going to be really interesting if Dawson Knox is ready to go and Andre Roberts is ready to go, how they're going to work their inactives this week off that 53-man. I think that's an enormous question. I think the Bengals have got to be sitting there scratching their heads wondering as well.
Yeah, and I don't know that it's tremendously strategic because, Cincinnati, if they're doing their due diligence, they're preparing for all of those players to be available and up on Sunday and have matchups planned for accordingly. But, yeah, Kroft has not been on film in this offense yet. Andre Roberts, basically preseason film in this offense. So those are 2 elements that the Bills could bring to the table this week where Cincinnati really doesn't have much to go on.
Chris, thanks for this. We'll talk again tomorrow. Thank you.
You got it, guys.
Chris Brown, Bills Insider, BuffaloBills.com. You can catch his work there. He will write about today's practice and let you know what went on and have the updated injury report when practice ends. We thank him for joining us.